Why not take a crazy
Fingers
chance?
crossed for no AV issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna post it onto my social media. Oh, whoops. Here we go. Oh, I forget that you can share this before the Twitter.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna post this to YouTube. Make a little post. But I haven't been create a post. I haven't been like I've been these streams have been unlisted because I don't know if they mess up my Okay, yeah. I don't know if they mess up like when people watch my videos that are not oh shoot, it's like buffering, whatever. I don't know if people are watching the stream when it's or like watching my video, or I wonder if like it affects people watching my videos if they get like notifications for book club all the time but don't want to be in or to watch book club. So I just have been making a post about it on YouTube. So sorry, I really suck at multitasking. All right, we're gonna just run through these notes. Oh, hey VP. Kevin, you were saying there was something in chapter 8, and then I kind of started like talking to myself.
Oh no, it's all good. I'm honestly just trying to find it. It was something about oh man. Okay, I'm not even gonna try to remember what it was out loud until I actually see it.
Okay,
But
sure.
you might.
In the meantime, I'll just kind of scroll through this. There was some good stuff. Okay. So, talks about self-reliance again. I think we kind of have gone through that a lot. You know, to implement socialism, Tanzania should be ready to implement it willingly with a socialist mindset. Nyerere believes that it must be Tanzanians themselves to develop the country. And I know we've talked about this a lot, but I do want to kind of bring up again, since like stuff about like black nationalism has been brought up so much, and like just like the right to one's own self-determination, I think is like obviously just like really key in Nyerere's work, where it's like you can't have the right to your own self-determination if you're too reliant on other people, and how that's like fundamentally an issue. Or maybe it's not an issue if people really want to help you, but I think in this global stage you're going to end up falling back into capitalism, and then you're going to be exploited. And so I can appreciate his need for self-reliance, even though there's like some things he says about it that I feel like are kind of weird. Oh, I said tractors are not appropriate for the present time majority farming units. And I know we already talked about this, but I think it's funny because like he says like so many times like, yeah, like we can't afford tractors, and I'm like, listen, farming should be like your main priority. Like you should try to make some room for tractors. And he like says like 5 times like we just can't afford it. And it took me like so many times for him to say that to be like, okay, they literally can't afford like tractors for all of their like for all of their farms. And it just cracks me up because it just like shows how little I understand about like Tanzania in that time, because I'm like, come on, just buy some tractors for everyone. And Nyerere is like, we can't, so that we're not going to do that.
I wonder if he keeps bringing up that example because it's like, oh, most people are farmers, so most people understand this example.
Yeah,
like...
I think that's a really good point. Oh, this is something that I thought was important. So he talks about worker co-ops, and he says that when he first tried to implement them, they failed, and he talks about why he thinks they failed. The first reason is poor management. The second reason is high costs in paying reasonable wages to the shop workers. They have no fixed wage, and thus they make less than the government fixed wage. So his solution to this is, of course, Ujamaa, kind of having these like family-run businesses, or like not family, but community-run businesses, where they can decide what type of things they want available, how to arrange their share of work, and basically where people kind of have their own autonomy and say and care into these businesses. That's in a much more equitable way. Another suggestion that he has is that shopkeepers need to stop buying merchandise on credit. And I believe what he's saying that it should be included in the price of the item. But I want to actually look at that because I wasn't exactly sure what that money jargon was saying. So, 156. Okay, so there is another way in which we can reduce the price. Oh, sorry. This is 156 for anyone who cares. There is another way in which... Oh, really fast. Is the audio working on this live stream? I will just see that really fast. Sorry, everybody. Okay, yeah. I don't know if they mess up. Okay. It is. That's good. Sorry, everyone. One of these days.
You're good.
One of these days, I'm gonna have a live stream, and it's gonna be so smooth, and like everyone's mics are gonna just be like as loud as can be, but like in a good way, and it's gonna be great. Okay, this is something that I was a little bit confused on. So on page 56, top of the page, he says, there's another way in which we can reduce the price we pay for the goods we buy in the shops. This is by moving away from the practice of buying almost everything on credit. Let there be a stated price of goods, and let that be a cash price, with the extra cost of credit clearly stated. Then our people will see how much it is costing them to borrow money from the shopkeeper in order to buy his goods, which is what we are doing when we buy goods on credit. So I think that Nyerere is saying that, like, you can, like, instead of buying any goods on credit, you could just, like, include that in the price of the goods of, like, what you would need to buy on credit. Like, because, like, you order the goods from somewhere or get to the goods from somewhere. And I think Nyerere is saying that, like, in the items that you have, you can include the price of how much it costs to order the goods. I think, but I'm not quite sure, because I thought that that's what goods already did, but maybe they don't. So I kind of was confused about this. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on what he's saying there.
You know, I wasn't confused about it until you brought it up, but I'm like, yeah, looking at like the particulars of what exactly he's saying, I'm not quite sure of how exactly it would work. But like in the surrounding text, it's talking a lot about how you know, the price of things needs to like be a real material like benefit. Like he brings up the example of like, oh, if you know, fix the prices of or if you fix the wages for the farmers, and you like fix the wages for the food that they're getting, that'll just, you know, create problems for all the townspeople who need to buy the food, and you haven't actually like increased anything. So in terms of looking at like just the credit, it's like I if I get what he's saying, I fully agree that he's right that like just concept of credit just makes it be like you're losing money without there being actual things that are produced, and that's a practice that needs to stop. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's basically what he was talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I recognize one of the parts. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That same paragraph, I recognize that's the part that stood out to me a little bit. Later on, he talks about how it's important. Like he says that, oh, if you, where is it? He like talks about the importance of managing money and how like, to me, it sounds like he's saying that if we can't afford things, then it's because we're bad at managing money, or we're bad at pricing things, and that kind of sounds like telling a poor person that they're bad at managing money and that's why they can't afford things.
What? Do you know what
And
page that's on?
sorry, that's page 156. Where's the part? I could have been reading it with like a weird thing in mind.
Oh, where he says, "Oh, I think I found it."
Oh
So,
yeah, we buy on credit. Yeah, we buy on credit because we do not organize our income properly, or because we do not save enough money at the beginning of each month or at the end of the harvest to meet the kind of regular payments which all of us get involved in at some time. Organizing one's income properly is, of course, a particular problem of farmers who receive money only once a year. I don't know, like for some reason that felt weird to me because I feel like that's something that's said to poor people a lot.
yeah, I thought like that is
better managing your finances. I don't know. Maybe I was reading too much into it, but
no. I think that's like a really shitty thing to say because he keeps on acknowledging. He's like, "Hey, like Tanzania is really poor, and so like there's just things that we can't afford." Like on one hand, he's saying that he's telling farmers like, "Hey, like we can't afford all this equipment, so we're gonna have to do things the old-fashioned way, and that's just how it is." And then on the other hand, he's like saying that if we can't afford things, that I don't know, but I guess this is maybe different. I wonder if this is different because he's talking about like shops and stuff. But I mean, I would imagine that would include food or grocery stores, which is like kind of a necessity. Like I wonder, like so the reason why I say is like maybe he's saying that like shops are frivolous, and so it's like, well, you shouldn't be spending your money on clothes. That's what you or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, it's just I don't know. I feel like you don't need to be saying that, like.
Just to me, it's interesting. Like,
Yeah.
And I think you talk about that later also, where he tries, like I feel like he tries to level with people. He's like, look, we're really poor. If you take all the money in our country and average it out, each person only gets like 500 or 26 currency a year or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, maybe he's just trying to level with people and be like, things are bad. I'm sorry. And I don't know, it just feels very practical, but also kind of like weird to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, another thing is he does acknowledge that it's not like every single person in the country is poor. Like I'm sure the overwhelming majority is, but he mentions that there are people who can like splurge on stuff, and they have like this isn't a part where he's like talking about how the economic structure is good so far. Is that he's like they get taxed really heavily, and even the stuff that they splurge on gets taxed really heavily. So it's like, what is this other stuff that you're talking about? It seems like, if they're buying it, it's because they need it, not necessarily because they're mismanaging their money.
Right. Like one of the things that he literally says is like, school fees, wedding costs, burial costs. Those are irregular payments and stuff, but it's just like, I don't know. It seems like a little bit patronizing, where it's like, well, you should have just saved better, and it's like, it just doesn't really seem to be realistic, like acknowledging like the actual harsh realities of poverty and like. Anyways. Yeah. Any more thoughts on that before moving on to some of the next stuff? Okay.
I feel like.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that UBP?
Yeah. I feel like it might be insensitive, but at the same time, I feel like there is some truth to that he could be speaking to, depending on the context of his reality. You know what I mean? It is horrible when somebody who has all the resources is saying that, but someone who's had nothing is saying that. They could be talking about our real bad habits. But also it doesn't really acknowledge like why people have those bad habits. But I don't think everything necessarily needs to.
Julius Nyerere was the son of a chief, and he went to school, and he also got a degree in college, and I'm not sure if that went all the way up to master's. So like he was as we're reading this book, there's like a very clear like, because I feel like in America, like people school degree in a lot of ways. That's obviously not true for everyone. There's like definitely places where like going to college is really hard, or like even graduating high school is really hard because of the circumstances that they're in. But in Tanzania, the way that he's been talking about it so far, it sounds like the people who have an education like he has are like very privileged in comparison to the rest of the population. So the fact that he had that, and the fact that he's like just telling people to like manage their money better, does come off as super condescending, because I think he's saying it as probably a wealthier person, not as like a poor person trying to just like be real about how hard money is. I think.
Yeah, then in that case, I'd agree. You can't really speak to shit you don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna lie. As someone who's poor, we have bad habits, but like, why do we have it? It has to be part of the question and answer. Because motherfucker just try to talk down and be like, "Oh, if you just spend your money better," it's like, yeah, but we barely have anything, and then we need a little bit to whatever we have left over. We end up using on trying to relieve the stress so we can stay fucking together. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point that he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they're talking about why people are bad at management. Because early, like in the very beginning of the chapter, he's like, he says that the cooperatives failed because of inexperience and poor management. And I guess, I don't know. Does he address that more? Because I think that was something I didn't think about.
Sorry, can you say it again?
Oh, sorry. Like earlier, he mentioned the cooperatives failed because of inexperience and poor management. And I guess, like, I don't know if he mentions like a solution for that. Like, oh, why are people having poor management skills? And like does he talk about like future plans for that? Like,
yeah. So his plan
job
for
training
that.
and stuff like that.
Oh no, you're fine. I didn't mean to cut you off. His plans for that is Ujamaa itself. So instead of like having like managers in the way they did have, like having it to be very community based, with people being able to make equitable decisions. From what I understand, it sounds like that wasn't really happening, and so Ujamaa having like a more Ujamaa approach to it is the solution to the manager issue. Hey, silly popcorn. We're just going through Ujamaa, and I'm trying to wrap it up really fast, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to vote on, what we're going to read for the next book, since we're wrapping up this book. I'm just going to kind of skip some stuff, because a lot of it's kind of stuff we talked over, and I don't want to go over on time. Talks about how to divide the wealth fairly, the higher your income, the more taxes you pay, nationalize the banks, stop wage salary increases at the top level, so like you can't just make like billions of dollars. So increase in cash wages, leave severance pay. Oh, okay. One thing that he touches on is like, even if people aren't going to be like billionaires, everyone's going to be taken care of, and like having these social programs are kind of like being like rich in a way, because like, you know, for example, in America, like you know, so many people like waste money on our healthcare system. People end up like spending more on our healthcare, but when you have universal healthcare, people spend less, and then people have access to the healthcare they need. And so, you know, he doesn't give that specific example, but basically he's saying like these social programs allow people to be richer, not in a way, in the same way that money allows you to be richer, because the reason why having money is nice is because you have access to these things. Any thoughts on that? Okay, so the next is: a community must be made. Family will live in villages, work together and farm. Income variations will only be a reflection of work done, which I feel like we've talked about that a lot. Oh, I thought this was interesting. So on page 176 at the end of the chapter, he says, there's no promise of government help. And he says that at the beginning of all this, expect there to not be, which I was like, whoa, like, just because like first off, like we think of like socialism as the government helping people out, and it's just really funny because he's like, this is going to be really hard and this is going to be really intense, and yeah, I'm just like, whoa. I would like love to see a documentary of like what that was like for like while Julius Nyerere was alive, like trying to implement that and just like being like, this is going to be hard. Like starting this is going to be like really hard, and we're not going to really be able to help you because we don't, as Tanzania, we don't have the resources, which I guess that makes sense why he's always being like, we got to work hard because like the position they're in, they really have to achieve these goals. Like they're going to have to like work their asses off to be able to like get to a place of stability. And so even though I guess it's like really seems really patronizing, I think I understand like why he's saying it, because he's like, yeah, the government's not going to be able to help you. And I think he's like trying to warn them that like you're going to have to work as hard as you can to be self-sufficient on your own until we can get to the point of stability where, you know, we get things up and running. And I'm just like, I don't know, that kind of like changed things for me a bit when I saw that. Any thoughts on that? Alrighty, we're just gonna keep on going.
Oh, I did have one other thought. That he must have been like a really, really good speaker, because he is. It's like it's not inspiring when you're just reading it.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
But like it's not like he's saying anything wrong, or for the most part he's not. He's just being real with people, and like I don't know if it's in this chapter or in the next chapter, but he brings up how the politicians in the States, and then also everywhere else too, but like he uses the States specifically as an example. He's like, the people don't want just rhetoric about like making empty promises. The people don't want just like basically political theater. And I was like, he's spitting facts right now. He's making really good points.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Maybe he knows that they can't help much, which is why he's saying that, and like, like he's like, oh, I'm not going to be like the Americans making false promises, because I know we can't help, and I don't know. That's like kind of scary, but I guess there's also a little bit respectful to say that, because you're not making people think that I will swoop in and solve your problems, but like, I don't know. And that only really makes sense to say here, because they actually can't.
Yeah. I know. I like how you said like it only makes sense to say here because they can't. Because like in so many situations, like you know, even during the pandemic, the U.S. literally we could have just like had to shut down for a couple weeks, paid everyone to stay at home, and we could potentially like be fine. It's like it just like that was an option, and we just never really did that. So, anyways, because America's so rich.
But the billionaires wouldn't be as rich as they are now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like all the people like are gonna like pandemic themselves into being trillionaires. Like it's wild. I'm gonna just do chapter 9 really fast. It's really short. I thought this was interesting because he's like, what if the idea that more educated people should join the practical work of initiating an Ujamaa village and become a founding member of it? It is likely that we should have any volunteers for such. Is it likely that we should have any volunteers for such work when it is realized how hard and how materially unrewarding it will be in comparison with the opportunities open to educated people, even after Arusha? That's really interesting because he like talks about how like farming and making these like Ujamaa villages is like is gonna be like the way to go. Like it's gonna make people happier. It's gonna also like be sustainable. And I think it's interesting because now that he's talking to university, he's like, yeah, like, you know, who would want to do that? But I think he just knows his audience. So it's not really like me like saying he's hypocritical. I just think it's interesting seeing the way that he talks to university students versus like the rest of the people. Any thoughts on that? Okay.
No, that was a really good point.
Thanks. Kevin also pointed out one time, I forgot what he said exactly, but he said something kind of weird, and we're like, why is he saying this? And then Kevin's like, well, I was talking to a university. So I always think that stuff's interesting. This is a quote that I really liked. If we prevent people making their own mistakes, we are preventing the establishment of Ujamaa village. We can advise and warn, but if we try to run them, I think it's like, wait, let me read this on 183 in case I missed a word. Oh wow. Oh my gosh, that autocorrected to restoring, and it's literally destroying, which is the opposite word. It's so funny. So, but if we try to run them, we are destroying them. We may pay a price. Oh wow, I'm sorry. I'm like in failures. And sorry, I like look at the book and then I type it all out, and it's kind of rough. Okay, I'll just read it from the book since I didn't write it down right. If we prevent people making their own mistakes, we are preventing the establishment of Ujamaa villages. We can advise and warn, but if we try to run them, we are destroying them. We may have to pay a price in failures and disappointments as a result, but it cannot be avoided. And in any case, obstinate local people can sometimes prove all previous experience and all skill advice to be wrong. The fact that a man is employed by government or elected in Tanu or even educated at the university does not make him infallible. And I really just liked this quote because it's talking about how, like, I think he stresses that you need to trust the people to make their own decisions, and that, like, leaders are not infallible. And also, I like that he talks about how, like, you have to like, let people be able to make their own mistakes. I just think that's, like, a really important thing to do, and I like that he's just, like, down with that. He's like, listen, like, this process isn't going to be perfect, and but we had to just get started. And yeah, he also talks about what it means to be a good leader, which kind of bothers me because he's talking about being a leader a lot to these educated people, as opposed to, like, the farmers. I don't know if he says that as much. And there's this way where he, like, talks about, like, the educated people leading, and I'm kind of like, well, that's really classist, because you talk about how people who have education are, like, educated to get jobs that, like, just support the rich. So I'm kind of, like, a little bit iffy there. But I do like what he says about what it means to be a good leader. Like, you had to be, like, one of the people. I like that. So, what do y'all think before we move on to what to read for book club?
The part with the like, letting people make their own mistakes, I really like the example that he used to illustrate that too, where he's like, suppose people want to set up this this building or something, and it's like, you could set it up, like, in the mountains, or you could set it down in the shallow land, and people really want to do it in the shallow land, and you know that it's a better idea to set it up in the mountains. What should you do? And he's like, let them follow through with what they wanted to do, but also have your backup plan. And, like, don't impose your backup plan, but, like, have it ready, just in case, right? And I was like, this is perfect. This is, like, one of the best points that he's made in this whole book is like, that's, like, something really practical that all of us can do. Especially, like, myself in, like, the educated realm, where it's like, what if I know that somebody is with a bad idea? What should I do? And it's like, that's a really perfect practical thing.
Yeah. I feel like that's like an Uncle Iroh thing. I don't know if you ever watched Avatar: Last Airbender, but
yeah,
just, like, the way that, like, he's just, like, there to, like, support Zuko, and then, like, Zuko's like, I'm gonna do this, and then I guess it's a little infantilizing because Iroh's pretty much always right, and, like, I think with people deciding, like, maybe going against, like, what a leader says, it's definitely, like, not necessarily that case. But I just like the idea in general of, like, letting people make their own mistakes, and, like, what does it look like to support, like, if you disagree with someone, what does it look like to support them in that, or does it look like to support, like, an entire group of people, like, when you have a disagreement? because I think a lot of times people have this attitude of like, if something does go wrong, it's like, well, I told you so. Or like feeling, or like if they were right, there's kind of like a sense of shame where like, oh, they were right. But neither of those things are happening. Instead, it's just being like, okay, if that's what everyone wants to do, let's go with it. I'm going to put some precautionary measures in case something happens. And yeah, I think that's really cool. I thought it was a really cool example too. Anything else before we wrap up and start talking about books? Okay, we're gonna transition to that.
Actually, I do have one question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
So I guess like obviously I didn't read the book and I just joined, but I was just kind of lost on what is an how do you say it? Ujamaa?
Yeah.
Ujamaa village? What does that mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. So Ujamaa is like, I think it means family. Let me just look this up so I'm not making the Swahili word Ujamaa means extended family, brotherhood. It asserts that a person becomes a person through the people or community. Nyerere used Ujamaa as a basis of national development project. So it seems like it's like a word that has like a lot of philosophy behind it around what it means to be family. And so he kind of like whenever he uses the word Ujamaa, Nyerere uses it in the context of socialism. And so he's kind of saying, Nyerere is saying like, listen, like, yeah, there's like a way where there's like, you know, Marxist-Leninism that came up, I think in like the 1800s, sorry if I got the years wrong, but it came up fairly recently in the grand scheme of like human history. But then he talks about how like for Africans, like Africans have been living kind of naturally like in this like what we would call socialist environment. So he's like, let's get back to that, because there's a way where it's been very natural, you know, especially like for Tanzanians to already like live in this way. And like he really focuses on the word Ujamaa to describe that experience. And he goes back to that, and that's like his basis for socialism basically. And he's read like Marx and Lenin and stuff like that too, but that's kind of like the core of his work.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I posted like what to read on. There's like a Google Doc. There it is. All right. So yeah, we have Kwame Nkrumah. I am butchering this name. Nkrumah. Oh, why can't I copy it? There we go. I'm gonna look this up. How to pronounce blobbity blah. Nkrumah. Okay. Nkrumah. Okay. So we have Kwame Nkrumah, the father of African nationalism, by David Birmingham. We have a short essay called The Uses of Anger by Audre Lorde, who I really like. That essay I've already read it before, but I thought that could be a good one to read with everyone. It's about like just how your anger is always pointing at something, and how you need to listen to it, because a lot of people talk about how Black people are angry, especially there's like the Black woman stereotype of being angry, and she is a woman and is like, my anger is telling me something, I need to listen to it. So it's really empowering essay that kind of helps you view anger, and I think in a healthy light, because we say that we talk about how we have negative emotions, but I think none of our emotions are inherently bad. It's how you deal with them, and I think this is actually a great way to look at your anger and understand it. The Kwame Nkrumah. The Kwame Nkrumah book, I'm actually not sure who suggested it. Oh, am I sharing my screen? Dang it. I'm probably not, am I? I'm not. Oh, gosh.
You're not, thanks.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just, like, talking about this list. Here we go. Okay. So the Kwame Nkrumah. The Kwame Nkrumah book, I think someone recommended it to me, but I actually don't know much about it. But that seems pretty interesting. The father of African nationalism. Not sure what the difference is between African nationalism versus like Pan-Africanism. So that would be an interesting dive to do. Maybe it's like the same word for this, or two different words for the same thing. I'm not sure, but it was recommended to me by someone, and I must have thought it sounded good at the time, so I put it on the list. The Possessive Investment in Whiteness. It's a short essay. I think it's an essay in a book that's like a larger book by George Lipsitz. Oh no, where's my whiteness book? And so like that book is like, or that essay just like pretty much talks about like when white people are basically like, well, why can't black people catch up because like the civil rights happened? Like this essay is like, here's why, and 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 here's why. It just like keeps on going, and you're like, holy shit. And it's just like literally just focuses on like, you know, I think like the 60s onwards, like that alone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, holy shit. And it doesn't even like get everything, but it gets like these pretty important things, like mainly focus. It's a good one for like if you want to understand like redlining districts and stuff like that. It's just like really informative, and I kind of just wish it was like a mandatory read, because I think white people would maybe understand what so many black people are going through. I am not sure who put this on here. Could have been me, could have been a suggestion, but it's The Miseducation of the Negro. I think it might have been me where I heard that it was a good reading. The Philosophy of Social Ecology by Murray Bookchin. Murray Bookchin is white, and I've like wanted to focus on people of color, like mostly black people, but I'm really fascinated with social ecology, and I'm really into solar punk, and social ecology is a huge part of that. So Make Rojava Green Again, Debbie Bookchin, the daughter of Murray Bookchin, and I'm really interested in what's going on with Rojava people. And it's a short read, which might be a nice break. The Dawning of the Apocalypse, The Roots of Slavery, White Supremacy, Settler-Colonialism, Capitalism, The Long 16th Century by Gerald Horne. Not sure about that one, but that sounds interesting. Or I don't know about that one, but it sounds interesting. Torchlight for America. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of hoping that the people who put these books on here could talk about them a little bit, because I actually don't know like half the books on this list, but I know that other people did them, so I'll just talk about the ones that I know, and then if anyone put a book on the list, they can talk about it. Black Power, The Politics of Liberation by Charles V. Hamilton and Kwame Ture. I just got this one, and I'm gonna read it anyways, but I thought I would put it on the list because it would be fun to do for book club if people wanted to. And this is like, I don't know, it seems like a little bit off topic. This is just like a book called Honey Girl, and it's about lesbians, which is why I wanted to read it. It's not really political, but maybe it'd be nice to have like a fun light reading. I don't know. And also like one of the main characters is black, so I was like, so I'm just gonna put that on the list. It's kind of like a hard turn because it's not a political book. It's just like a book about,
yeah, it's just a bunch of theory, and it's all like Honey Girl.
Sometimes I feel like the best theory comes from analyzing media and stuff, but I have no idea. I actually have no idea, because like a friend recommended it to me, and all I know is that there's lesbians and one of them is black, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna read this.
I find most of the time, because sometimes I'll be insecure, like, oh, I don't read enough theory, I don't know enough theory, and then sometimes somebody will explain theory to me. They'll be like, oh, I kind of just picked that up naturally, like in like my regular media analysis. It's just that now I have terms and names to attach to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's why
we just kind of decide that. Sorry, go.
You go. Dang it! Oh my gosh! I was like, the reason why I was doing this.
So sorry.
The reason why I was doing this is because I was like, because like, you know how people say like you go at the same time. So that's why I was like doing this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'll say you go, and then we sit at the same time anyways. And I was like, oh my gosh. I totally interrupted you though. Go ahead.
I'm so bad at this. I'm so sorry. But like, we've just kind of arbitrarily decided, and not arbitrarily. I don't know. Like, I know there's plenty to be said about where we have where our standards of academia come from, and like to say that sources and like properly like citing theory and like legitimate, like what is a legitimate like source is up for debate. But there is this degree of like, even if I did come to a conclusion after reading some comic book that is kind of theory based, it's probably better to have like a theorist quote instead of like, I thought of this while reading Batman, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I kind of like go back and forth on that too, of, like,
I think
what
it's
counts as like, a
fine.
legitimate source, and like who decides what a legitimate source is.
Yeah, like videos that I see where they just like break apart media and just, I think are just like incredible. Like I love that stuff. Like some of the best theory I think actually is just in analyzing media, like because like also you're talking about like what's happening culturally, and I think reading theory is good because you can like, you know, use you can develop a language around this, which is helpful, but you know, I don't really think you need to do that. And I also think like for critical race theory, for example, like I really want people to read it so they can understand our history and like have, you know, have these terms so we can like have a shared language around it. But also like it doesn't erase like the importance of like the lives lived of people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many, like, because I think critical race theory was helpful for me as a Black person to be like, I can put this into words, but also like I already like saw what was going on. I just could finally put it into words. And so it's like, yeah. But yeah, as far as books go, does anyone have, if there's a book on there that someone put on there, does anyone want to talk about it? Or does anyone have any suggestions that they do want to put on there right now?
Yeah, I recommended Seeing Like a State. It's a book about like what happened with Tanzania during and after Nyerere's ideas, but it's not just Tanzania. It examines a number of different cities, and like honestly, for me, I don't actually want to read it next. I've read it already. It is quite dry, but it is very informative.
Yeah.
So, like the thing that jumped out to me, I want to read the Audre Lorde piece because I'm like, I want like a short, quick, powerful read.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on what people might want to read? BP, do you have any thoughts on anything? Even if you don't come to like every book club, I feel like your book suggestions are really good. Or like, any thoughts on that? Okay.
So I'll give one, but I gotta give a disclaimer. Dude who wrote it is a piece of shit, but it's still a really good book, which is Soul on Ice.
Soul on Ice?
Yeah. Eldridge Cleaver.
No, that's from the Rascast album.
There's some like there's a fucked up chapter, but like he also like as a book it's also really good. So my one disclaimer, there is one, but he also had a lot of insights into colonization and like the Black struggle, regardless.
Okay.
And would it be okay to ask now?
Suicide by UEP. So, oh shit.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just thinking like this list is really long and there's like a lot of books that I actually don't know on it. So I'm just gonna take some out because I don't want to like vote on any that I actually like don't really remember. Like I'll like make it like a secondary list for the future. I'm interested in that actually. Audre Lorde, President of Violent, The Miseducation of the Negro.
I really like the title, Blood in My Eye.
Oh my gosh,
that's a pretty dope title.
Also, like, I don't know. Oh shoot, I don't know if I put these on here because, like, whenever someone recommends a book, I'm like, yeah, I'll put it on here.
It's already there. Blood in My Eye's already there.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, I wanted to read that one for a while too, actually. I realize I can't delete these suggestions because I can't remember if I put them on there and forgot about them or if they're literally someone else's who's just not here, and I don't want to delete their reading suggestions. So, but there's a lot though. I'm glad we talked about it. I'm just worried that like each one will get like one vote or something, and then we're like. But yeah, I don't. I'm interested in reading the uses of anger because it's short and it'd be kind of nice to do something a little bit faster and then pick a longer one. I kind of like doing that pattern, but I'm also, you know, don't need to die on that hill or anything. But I've read it before and it'd be nice to revisit it. And yeah, Blood in My Eye. One of my friends has recommended that for a really long time, so I definitely want to read that at least one day. This sounds really interesting, like just talking about like nationalism, because all that stuff kind of has recently blown up about Black nationalism again, and so just understanding other kinds of nationalism piques my interest. Black Power, I think that's really interesting, like just studying the Black Power movement. Oh shit! Oh my god, there's a spider, like just, oh god. I'm not gonna kill it, I'm just gonna like tap it away. I'm sorry.
I had a very similar experience. I saw a bug I didn't even recognize, and like,
Let me just...
it got away. I don't know where it is. That's gonna keep me up tonight.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to kill the spiders because I feel really bad. Okay. Whenever I kill them, I feel really bad. And then they've been like making these really cool spider webs that I've kind of just like been keeping up, kind of like as art. It's not like, yeah, it, like they look really cool. And so like I haven't been killing it. I'm like, I don't know. But they still freak me out when I see it. And it was like right there. It was just like, Anyways, I forgot what we were talking about. I'm so sorry. I feel like someone was saying something.
I like that Gerald Horn. Sorry, was someone else was his name?
I think.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
good.
bad.
I start everything I say with so it's hard to. I think reading a memoir for like a memoir might be nice for the next one or the one after that, because you mentioned wanting to have something that's more personal and not just reading theory, and reading about someone's life might be a nice way to like apply that to someone's life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Every memoir that I've read like makes me want to like die on the inside. I don't know if that's just like, because it's like, wait, are memoirs like people's diaries where it's like, they're like, today I made some eggs, and then like, you know, I went to a pond, and you know, maybe like 30 pages later, like something happens, and they're like, yeah, and then I went to bed, and then I got up the next day and I went to work, and you're like, I don't need to know everything about your life. I just want are those memoirs, or is that just like...
I'm certain there are some
Motorcycle
like
Diary
that.
is really good.
Okay, I think I might be thinking of something else actually. So yeah, if anyone knows of any good memoirs to put on the list, that would be cool. If it's not what I'm thinking of. If it is what I'm thinking of and everyone wants to do it, then we'll do it.
I heard the Motorcycle Diaries.
Okay.
Can you hear? I haven't read it, but I heard the Motorcycle Diaries is pretty good.
What is that on? Is that... Oh my god!
Shit.
What the fuck? The spider like came back. Go. It's like, just hold on. Jesus Christ. Oh god. Oh my god. Oh, get away. Get away. Get away. Okay. It came back. Literally, I like put it over there and I was like, I'm not gonna kill you. But I put it over there and it came back. It was the same spider dropping from the same spot in the ceiling. Anyways, all right, sorry everyone. You're talking about the Motorcycle Diaries, I think, BP. Oh my gosh, Saber.
Yeah.
Saber.
Hello.
We're talking about what
sorry,
we want to read next, so throw in your 2 cents. And then we'll vote in the next couple days.
The list. Wait, are you still?
I'm streaming it too. I'll repost it. I'll put it in the discussion thing really fast, so people can also edit it themselves. But I'll put it in the voice chat text, and people can look at it there as well. But yeah, I think so. Like, we kind of have a little bit of an issue where we have, and sorry, we'll wrap this up soon. We have like a little bit of an issue where there's like a lot of books that like I don't know if I put on there or if someone else did, but we don't like really know what they're about. But Jeremy and I were saying that we're interested in Audre Lorde's Uses of Anger. We're talking about George Jackson's Blood in My Eye. those kind of seem to be like some popular ones. Oh, I kind of want to read Make Rojava Green again because it's a shorter one, and I'm really interested in the Rojava people. And yeah, and then BP just mentioned the Motorcycle Diaries. So yeah,
I think I put The Dawning of the Apocalypse on that list. I think that was my one that I put in there a while ago.
where is it? There we go. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
oh, I was thinking because like, okay, this would be a fun one. I think you're talking about like reading like black steampunk stuff. I feel like that would be fun to read something like that, or even just something by Octavia Butler, like a nice little, just like a break. Like it's something that's like still makes you think a lot, but it's not straight up theory. I think that'd be fun. I mean, the book club format might have to change.
This was dope.
Yeah, let's just do. I'm just gonna put this on here. Octavia Butler, Parable of the Sower.
Great book.
Yeah, I would love to read that in book club. It's so good. It's about this like person where like it's kind of like basically there's like the apocalypse happening, but it like doesn't happen all in one day. Kind of like the world's like falling apart, and like they live in this like neighborhood that's like trying to keep the rest of the world out, and like it's. Yeah, and like the main characters are black, which is really cool. Like Octavia Butler.
Right. Yeah. I made a video because apparently it is a trilogy. I made a video on the first one last year.
I didn't even know that.
And I would like to get to the other two as well at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first one holds up really well on its own, from what I can tell, from what I read, anyways. Very fascinating book, and yeah, it's very prophetic in the kind of stuff that it talks about, and like. Especially considering when it's set as well. It was written in '93 from my recollection, and it's set in like the mid 2020s and covers a lot about like climate change and the impacts of that. And it's really cool, really interesting book.
Yeah, I'm gonna like just throw that out there. That'd be cool to do something that's like makes us think, but is not straight up political theory or something like that. And then we might do like if we did that, we might do like. Less book clubs around it, like read larger chunks and then talk about the book maybe like in thirds or something, maybe not do every chapter, maybe do it every couple chapters. But I don't know, I think it would be fun to do a book club in like that style too. But yeah, anyways, I think we should probably wrap up. Does anyone have any other thoughts before we end today? On what to read.
I can put one more suggestion, which is kind of what we spoke about the other day. The Comet by W.E.B. Du Bois.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, it took me like I don't know. Last I remember, it's roughly like a 45-minute read. Very very short, and kind of goes against his typical writing. I mean, he did do quite a bit of like creative writing, but this was kind of a break from a lot of the other books like. Black Reconstruction and The Souls of Black Folk. And, also very, very like well written.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna post this list again, and then let's try to finish voting on it in the next couple of days, so we can order our books, so we can still meet in the next 2 weeks. It's gonna be like it was last time, so you're gonna put a 2 next to the one that you want to read the most, and a 1 is your second vote next to the one you want to read. The second most, and I've been doing it where like 2s count for 2 points and then 1s count for 1 point. I don't know if that makes sense to do. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like, yeah, that makes sense.
Would it not make more sense? Would it not make more sense to have like my first pick is like number 1 and the amount of 1s wins? Or,
well, the 2s, like your first pick is a 2 because I literally add up all the points. I add them up as points. So like, so it's like you get the most. Like, so you're giving 2 points to the one you want the most, 1 point to the one you want the second most, and then I tally up whichever book has the most points. So I think that makes sense.
Right.
I had to think
just
about
put that on the top of the document because I'm probably gonna forget.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, sounds good though. I will post this today, and yeah, just make sure to vote in the next couple days, and then we'll pick a book. Yeah. That's it for today. I don't want to keep anyone from anything, so yeah. I'll end there, and I'll see you all hopefully in a couple weeks.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you next
Bye,
time.
everyone. Thanks for coming.
Folks.